Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Quarantine Bunker Studio. I am your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, and we are here with a new shop reaction video. Now, I took this, I want to say February-ish, when I was in Fukuoka helping my girlfriend move to Tokyo. And this was taken at I think, the day of opening of the Surugaya in Hakata, right near Hakata Station. So we've got an incredible showcase that we're going to go through, and why don't we just start now? So looking at here on the left, actually, okay, all right, I've already even spotted some interesting things. So normally, I actually don't think that much of Surugaya in general. I think it's a great place to go because it's got a good selection. But what's really impressing me here with this showcase is you'll notice on the top left it has this little thing in Japanese in red letters on almost like a sticker, and I believe what that means is that all of these things in the showcase, and this is actually something very recently that I've noticed stores doing, is they have been wrapped, the plastic that they are wrapped in the showcase has a UV protecting film in it. Meaning that, so what happens in a lot of these places, and I will constantly complain about this on this channel until I'm dead, is that places that do not give a crap about their games, and you'll notice this right here, is they will put them right in front of these bright, iridescent, incandescent, whatever kind of lights those are. And when they're in front of those lights, they're absorbing all of this UV radiation from the light, and that ends up fading the packaging. I've seen this all over the place. I've even seen this at some high-end places. But what they've done here that's been very impressive is it's the game, and I think not just this game specifically, I think this applies to the whole showcase, is that they have all been wrapped in this UV protecting film. So that's just something we need to note right away. Now, for the game that is there on the left, the big Xbox 360 box, that is the Cave Complete Shooting Collection. I can't tell you exactly what games are included in that, but I'm assuming it's all of the games that Cave released, shooting games that Cave released. For the Xbox 360, there were a lot. There was like the Doronpachis, there was like the Daifukatsu, like the Resurrections, the Black Label, Mushihime, Bug Princess, probably. Oh, I can't remember the other one, but like with the maids, there's a couple of those. It also says one of two, so there might be another box. I remember this came out like maybe 5-10 years ago. It was like a $250 $300 package, and here it's going for $700. Cave, like all of the shooters to the Xbox 360 have really started going up in price. Even like Raiden, like Aces or Legends or whichever one that was, the other Raiden, like Raiden 4, all the Cave ones, they're not super expensive right now. Like they're not like in Sega Saturn territory, but they are getting pretty expensive. Moving over, presumably to the right, it took this months ago, so I'm not sure what direction we're going to go. We get into some of what I guess would be the mid-tier Neo Geo games, I guess is what you call a $180 game. But we've got, I can't forget how to pronounce the kanji on that, but it's a Sengoku game. There on the left, I believe that's a fighting game. That's going for $280. Please forgive me for my math here. I think right now it's about 107 yen to the dollar, but then you also have to include sales tax. But if you're visiting Japan, Surugaya might be doing their tax-free if you have your passport with you, but I can't remember. Depends on the store. We also have League Bowling, which I think I have for the Neo Geo CD. It's actually a pretty fun bowling game. It's got some great sprites to it. Then we've got, what is that? King of Fighters 98 for $170. Wow. And then we've got a game I don't even recognize. What's really cool about the Neo Geo in Japan is it looks like a mahjong game. You just got a lot of cool games that were like very specific to the Japanese market because they're mahjong quiz games. It wasn't worth it to localize it because it would have been a huge effort, cost a lot of money, especially for the Neo Geo. Then we've got, is that Cyber? Please excuse me, I'm not as familiar with the Neo Geo as I should be. Then we've got Viewpoint, which I believe is the isometric shooter. That's going for $1,000. That is, man, I'm pretty sure I've seen that cheaper somewhere else. It's also like I think like a $30 game on the Neo Geo CD, which is I think is the preferred way that I'd like to play it. We also have Metal Slug 4 going for $2,000, and that is before tax. That is crazy. Like, man, Metal Slug 4. Okay. Next, we also have the King of Fighters 2003 going for $1,100, 1150 or sorry, yeah, 1150. Yeah, please. Okay, what have we got here? Whoa! All right, we got a big selection of Sega Saturn games here. So on the top left, we've got Radiant Silvergun going for about $200. I mean, 190 give or take a few bucks. Now this something I need to note here is that if you're not familiar with CD or CD game collecting, is for the Sega Saturn specifically, but this also goes for Dreamcast, PlayStation, PC Engine CD, is if a game has the obi, which it looks like none of these do. They're these spine covers that they came out with music CDs. It's just a thing they did in Japan where it's got this little spine cover that would go on the left side of the CD, and that can be worth a lot of money. For example, the Radiant Silvergun here, I would not pay $200 for it unless it had the obi. Now, I'm not someone who cares about the obi, so I would actually find this cheaper somewhere else. I would say without the obi, like I've seen it go for $200 with the obi in Super Potato, and Super Potato is overpriced. So finding it here for $200 is not very impressive without the spine cover, and I would say this would be maybe 170. It should be like, no, it'd be 17,000 yen, maybe about 160, maybe even 150 if you're lucky. Then we've got Image Fight and X Multiply, a shooting game. I'm sure it's from the Arcade Gears by Xing Shing. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not familiar with those games. I can tell you Radiant Silvergun is fantastic. Then we've got Cotton Boomerang going for $230. Then we've got on the bottom left, we've got Final Fight Revenge. Now this looks like there might have been a copy that came with the memory expansion, the RAM cart. I don't believe this is the one, and I'm not sure if it even did come with it at all. But Final Fight, I absolutely love the series. However, the Sega Saturn one, I will tell you to go away from because it is just a sort of basic 3D fighting game that when I tried it, I mean, I played it for like an hour. I just did not enjoy it, and I was really disappointed to not have a cool Sega Saturn beat 'em up game in the Final Fight genre. But that's just my opinion. Then we've got Blast Wind, which I've never played, but is an expensive shooting game by Technosoft. That's going for $210, we'll say. And then we've got Shadowrun, which looks like, oh yeah, okay, so that's for the Mega CD, the CD add-on for the Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, whichever you want to call it. I guess where I am, we'd call it the Mega Drive. Like a great lineup, don't get me wrong, but it's just some of those a little bit expensive. Although Hyper Duel for its Hyper Duel is a very, it's sort of like a classic rare Sega Saturn game that I see everywhere. But it's very expensive here. It's like $360. That's actually not too bad. I've seen it more expensive elsewhere, and looking at the condition, it doesn't look too bad. If I was going to find this in Mandarake, it would probably be more expensive. Then above that, we've got Deppy, which is going for about $310. I've seen that everywhere. I don't know what it is. We've got Super Tempo, I'm presuming a music game, going for $330. And then we've got Steam Hearts on the bottom left going for $240. That actually seems expensive for the Sega Saturn, but then I'm also confusing it with the PC Engine release, which I think is substantially cheaper. Maybe I could be getting it opposite. Steam Hearts was a sort of very saucy, I guess you would call it, shooter where it's sort of like, I'm pretty sure it's a shooter where you're shooting and then it's got these cutscenes where it's featuring very slim-waisted anime babes. But I have never played it myself. One of these days, perhaps when I'm a millionaire. Then we also have Magical Chase for the PC Engine, the Hue card, going for $500. That's incredible. Let's see, Surugaya. So the thing about Surugaya, actually, yeah, maybe I should just pause here and talk to the camera for a second. So if you haven't been to Surugaya before, if you haven't ordered anything from them before, Surugaya is this large conglomerate that sells a lot of different used stuff. And of course, video games is one of them. I have found them to perhaps they're not the worst place to go, especially when you're in Akihabara. You're going to find there's like two Surugayas there now that sell video games. They have some good stuff. I'm really disappointed a lot of the times by the quality of the items that they have. They don't really grade that much on quality, and they don't turn a lot away. So the stuff here is actually fine. But when you actually go into like the show floor and you actually start looking at the regular games, you can find stuff that is just like really personally unacceptable to me in terms of the quality of the stuff. And I'm actually someone who is like, I have plenty of bent boxes, sometimes stuff that I've bent myself, but sometimes stuff that I've bought bent just because you can get a great deal on that stuff at like Mandarake because they just want to get rid of it. Surugaya, on the other hand, that's just their default, and that bent box will actually be the same price as something that is pristine. So just keep that in mind if you are going to any of the Surugayas across Japan, not just the ones in Akihabara or the one here that's in Fukuoka. Moving along, I presume we're going to be looking at more PC Engine stuff. Yeah, here's the big hitters. Okay, so we've got top left, we've got Rondo of Blood. Absolutely phenomenal game, one of the best in the series. It's also one of the hardest to play simply because you have to get a PC Engine CD to work. Although it has been released, I think, multiple different times on different systems. So any way you can play it, absolutely would recommend it. $200 without the OB. I mean, the white, if you look at the Terra Cresta that's down in the middle at the very bottom by Nichibutsu there. That Terra Cresta, you can notice the white plastic has started to yellow or has been yellow for a long time. That's just natural. That I've often thought it's because of the smoking. Lots of Japanese households, particularly back in the late 80s, early 90s, had a lot of smokers in them. This to me looks like it's just discoloration that happens with time. Like this is what's going to happen with everything, particularly if you're not keeping it in a climate controlled area. And I think even if you do, this is just, nothing lasts forever. So if you look at that copy of Rondo of Blood on the top left, it actually doesn't look too bad. But $200, I remember when I found it, even a couple years ago, I found it for like $80 at a Mandarake in about the same condition. Actually, I think I have it in one of those boxes over there. $200 seems steep to me, especially for Surugaya. Although, actually, no. Okay, all right, sorry. When I talked about tax before, just completely opposite of what I've said. So Surugaya is actually one of the places where they include the price, they include tax in the price. In Japan, consumption tax or sales tax is 10%. Places like Mandarake do not include the tax, but Surugaya does. So this is actually $180. We'll just call it that flat. Even then, still a bit expensive. I wouldn't, without the OB, I would really try and find it for $150. If possible. Now, if this is your last shop and you want to copy a Rondo of Blood, yeah, $200 is not terrible. Then we've got, what is that, Nexor for going for $210 by Nagsat. Oh, I love Nagsat. They've made some of the best shooters ever. I couldn't tell you if 210 is a good price for Nexor, but I would love to play it sometime. Then we've got Koryun. On the top right, that's going for $450 on HuCard. I don't know about that. I'm not about to spend $450 on that when I don't know anything about it. Then we've got Keo Yurage on the bottom right for the Mega Drive. It's a shooting game. What I love about Mega Drive games is they actually have little, you see there, you've got the MD in the red and the green, then you've got the one player box, and then the box on the right with the yellow plane that's shooting at you. That means it's a shooting game. So I love that for the Mega Drive. It just tells you what kind of genre the game is. That would be really helpful for me if a lot of other systems did that too. Then we've got Sylphia on the far left going for about $430. I think that's a shooting game, if I remember correctly. I think that's the one for the PC Engine CD. I think I have played it. It's fine. It's fine. $440 fine. not for me. But if you're into the PC Engine CD, I don't know if that's a good price or not. I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me, hitting the mic. Oh, sorry, and I can't believe I even forgot Terra Cresta 2. So Terra Cresta 1 came out for the Famicom. It's not that expensive of a game. It is really, really good though. I just love the sort of the add-ons you can get to your machine and all the cool things that you can do. I have not played Terra Cresta 2. That is the Hue card version. I believe it's been ported to a couple of other systems, but $300? I feel like I've seen it more expensive elsewhere, but that was a couple years ago, and I cannot tell you if this is a good deal or not. But Terra Cresta 2 is, yeah, it's a good shooter. It's a fine shooter. So moving away, we're moving towards, oh, here we go. Here's another copy. All right. Wow. Okay. Is that Cleopatra? Okay. Sorry. All right. Yeah, we're getting to a lot of systems here. On the top, we have The Adventure of Little Ralph for the PlayStation. That's going for $600. Okay. This is actually really, really new to me because I thought Serial Experiments Lane was the most expensive PlayStation game in Japan. That normally goes for about $400. Here's one that's going for $600. I don't know if this is overpriced or not, but man, $600 for a PlayStation game. That's where this is some serious business here. To the right, we've got a game that it follows one of those trends that I keep talking about on this channel, but it is ports of it's like retro ports. It's like it's Battle Formula and Gimmick, which are very expensive Famicom games in Japan. And Battle Formula, what was it, like Super Spy Hunter? It's normally like a $20 game, but for the Famicom, it's like a $400 game loose. Here, this is just ports. You're just paying for ROM ports for the PlayStation of Famicom games, and they're going for $300. This is very common. You find a lot of ports, retro ports for these older systems. For some reason, they go up in price. I don't know if it's because people really want to play Battle Formula for the PlayStation. Who knows? It just seems to be something about these ports in Japan, because I've not seen this behavior outside of Japan, but someone can maybe correct me if I'm wrong and tell me about ports for other systems outside of Japan. Then we've got Steam Hearts on the bottom left for the PC Engine. I believe that's the PC Engine CD. That's going for $210, so about the same. If I remember correctly. My short-term memory isn't that good, especially when I'm recording videos. But I want to say that was about the same as what we saw for the PlayStation. Look at that art. Man, you could not get away with that these days. Then we've got Border Down for the Dreamcast. When was that released? That was released 03. Okay, so yeah, so that's going for $230. It's one of those late release Dreamcast games. It's something when you're in retro game collecting, one of those sort of common threads you see for expensive games is they're good. If they're good and they are one of the last games released for the systems, that means they're very in high demand but had a low print run because this was released 3 years after the Dreamcast bit the dust. So yeah, it's not going to be very expensive. Although I was under the impression that the most expensive game for the Dreamcast was Cleopatra Fortune. And you know what's also interesting about these Dreamcast games is the Dreamcast. Oh, I don't know if I have any Dreamcast games here, but those don't look like the proper. Those don't look like the proper the edge. So look at the left of the jewel case. Dreamcast should just have the Dreamcast orange with the inset paper in it, not white. That's very strange to me. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. These could be completely legit. It could just be they've covered them up. I don't know. But $250 for Border Down seems a bit pricey for me, and especially if it doesn't have the original packaging. But that could be the original packaging. I'm not that much of an expert on the Dreamcast to say definitively. Next up on the bottom left, excuse me, $300 for the Metal Slug for the Neo Geo CD. No, I would say $200. Like even at Mandarake, $200 for the Metal Slug would be fine for the Neo Geo CD. For the PC Engine, is that for the CD? I don't even know what that is. It's a role-playing game on the top left. On the top, excuse me. We've got Makeruna Makendo 2. Couldn't tell you about that. It does say role playing. That's what is nice about Surugaya is they will actually on the labels they will print the genre. So I can tell you that's a role playing game. I've never heard of it before. Beneath it we've got Chipuchan Kiku, which is an action game that's going for $270. Don't know anything about that. Then we've got to the right we've got Subari Sumo by Nagsat Soft. One of their non-shooting games. Can't believe they made non-shooting games. That's going for about $160. Maybe that's good. I don't know. I wish I was more familiar with the PC Engine than I am. Next up, we have. I can't read the kanji there. Kegisha Boy. That's going for $180. Action game. Can't tell you that much more about it. Moving right along, looks like we've got some more Dreamcast games. Now, interesting. So here's some more Dreamcast games, but they've got, because if you look at that Rainbow Cotton, I'm going to have to look at my Dreamcast games to make sure I'm not hallucinating this, but we've got Rainbow Cotton going for $140 for the Dreamcast. We've got, I can't read what that is on the left, and I'm not familiar with it. On the bottom left, it's another Dreamcast game. I saw the label. That's going for $160. Top left, we've got record of something. I can't read that kanji. That's going for $180 for the PC Engine CD. We've got Cheeky Boys for $170 for the Super CD, for the PC Engine CD. Man, you may as well at that price just buy it for the Mega Drive, even though it's like an $80 game these days, depending on where you go. And we've got Air Grave for the PlayStation going for $150, well, $140, give or take. Shooting game, I presume. We've got on the bottom right Mad Stalker. That looks like it's probably for the PC Engine. Wow, a lot of PC Engine CD games in this showcase. Really surprising. That's going for, $140, made by NEC. We've got a Nagsat shooter, but I cannot read. It's like QQ Tiger. Is that like a sequel or port? The Tiger helicopter game for the original Famicom. Well, it was like Famicom, PC Engine. Really, really love that game, especially for the PC Engine. That's the version that I have. Really great game. Here's a sequel. I don't know if it's a sequel or a port. That's going for $160 thereabouts. And then I think we will be moving down. Yes, here we go. Here are the Mega Drive games and expensive Super Famicom games. Let's talk about the Mega Drive games first. On the bottom right, we've got Aleste going for $170, give or take. I can't remember if this was like action or shooting. I know there's Super Aleste that ended up coming out for, I want to say, for the Super Famicom. Just good shooting game, $160. Maybe that's good. A lot of the shooting games for the Mega Drive got really, really expensive, and I don't see them going down anytime soon. We've got Battle Mania. That's one you see a lot, but is very expensive, going for $250. And then we've got Steel Empire on the bottom left, going for $200. That seems a bit pricey. I would like to find it cheaper somewhere else. Then for the Super Famicom, we've got the Blues Brothers. I don't know why they released the Blues Brothers game in Japan, but here it is, going for $270 complete in box. We've also got some guy's adventure. I can't read the katakana underneath the label. It's some fantasy. Miro no Doki Doki Daiboken going for $260 complete in box. East Expert going for $180, and then Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures going for $250. Very highly sought after. It's one of those games where it's the trend, and I'll talk about this probably in every video because we'll see these, but it's a game based on a foreign property, meaning it's and a lot of these, like for the like the Super Famicom era, a lot of these games were pretty good because they were made by like Konami or another good developer. So a lot of these tie-ins, and it's not exactly a movie tie-in, but it's like a foreign property. You see this with the X-Men and the Spider-Man games for the Super Famicom as well. They received low print runs, but they're sought after because they're good. and or sometimes just because they're part of a series, so people want everything in that series. So here you go. That's why an Indiana Jones game is $250. Moving along, we're gonna go to the left here. We've got, what have we got? We've got Spriggan Powered, very sought after. I don't know if I would pay $250 for this copy of Spriggan Powered. I have just a loose copy that I found at Mandarake for like, I think like $40 back in the day. It's a good shooter. I don't want to steer you away from it. It's good. I just wouldn't pay $250 for it complete. And then also it says, okay, so they've actually started putting labels here. So this one, it says there's a problem with the box. It says Hako Itami Dai. That means there's some nick on the box somewhere, but usually like to a Japanese, to someone Japanese who's evaluating this game, or a Japanese shop that is evaluating the game, that just means that there might be like a scratch on it somewhere. It's not that big of a deal, but it could sometimes mean it's a big of a deal. Just ask them to take a look at it. You won't have any problems. Then we've got Samurai Pizza Cats. I can't remember if that's their actual name. That's just how I call them. I remember watching that back when I was a kid. That's Koyende. Is that what that says? That's going for $320. That says, is that Hiyake? I think that means it's got some label fading somewhere, but I don't see it myself. Then we've got next to the left of Spriggan Powered, we've got Kiki Kai Kai. That is Pocky and Rocky. This is the first Pocky and Rocky. That's going for $230 loose. That doesn't seem terrible to me, considering that I've seen a loose copy go for like $80, $90 in Akihabara, so the price differential there isn't that big. Then we've got Marble Madness on the bottom right for the Mega Drive, going for $190. We've got to the left of Pocky and Rocky, we've got Ninja Ryuken Den. Is that? Oh, that must be Ninja Gaiden, I think. That's going for $220. I didn't know it actually came out. They had one for the Super Famicom. I don't know what the price for that would be. Let's move along. What is that? We've got Dancing Sword for the Game Boy Advance going for $230. That seems very pricey, but there's a lot of very expensive Game Boy Advance games out there now, so maybe that's a reasonable price. Next up, we've got that Western-themed Gundam game. That label's Battle. I can't tell what the name is. It's I believe that's the fighting game that was released by Band Presto. Can't believe it's going for $130 because those games usually are pretty cheap. But maybe this is like one of the ones that got a low print run or something. I don't know what the value of the game is, but just in relative terms to the other games in the series, it seems quite high. Then we've got Aliens vs. Predator going for $180, $170. Haven't played it, couldn't tell you about it. And then is that Ruka? Ruka Dai Bolken going for $500. Wow, I cannot believe there are still this many expensive Super Famicom games. It's absolutely incredible what's happened over the years. Going from the bottom left, we've got Batsugun, which did it invent the bullet hell shooter? I'm pretty sure. No, it's Band Presto, but I feel like it's a cave shooter. Or am I thinking of like Donpachi? I know Donpachi's cave, but I feel like Batsugun was one of the first bullet hells, and going for $150. That's actually not terrible these days. If it's in good condition, that's fine. That's fine. I've seen it go for $200. I've seen it go for like outrageous prices elsewhere. Then we've got a game I can't tell what it is in the middle. That anime game going for $140. And then we've got Ikage going for $180, but it's a game that I have not played. So I cannot say if I recommend it or not. Batsugun I have played. It's great. Batsugun is absolutely fantastic. Now we will go to probably what will be, here we go. Here's some interesting games. So this is stuff that I do not know much about because we're looking at some what I believe are Msx games. I'll just tell you the price. I don't know if these are good or not. Well, I know R-Type is good. There we've got it going for $180. We've also got the Seal of Erugiza going for $210. An MSX game put out by Konami. Then we've got Sorcerian going for $130. That is an RPG, as the title is telling us. And then let's finish it off with some a couple Neo Geo games, and it looks like we got another MSX game. We've got King of Fighters 2001 going for $240, which I cannot believe. Like, I thought the King of Fighters games were cheap. Not 2001, apparently. Then we've got Real Bout Special going for $240. That seems very expensive for a fighting game. And then we've got, sorry about that. Let's move it over because it just reset it after it finished. Hold on, let me move that over. So we'll just talk, that last game was an MSX game. And I cannot get to it until we go back to it. But overall, just a really fantastic showcase. Lots of PC Engine games, which you're sort of seeing more of, I think, because you still got real diehard collectors for the PC Engine out there, and so the prices, I think, are staying high. I just don't think you see as much money just sort of flowing in to the PC Engine as you used to. But then there's games like Sapphire that are maintaining a high price and I think are still even bound to go up. But we unfortunately didn't see it here, even though it's a phenomenal game. And then we've got Zach Precious Package, The Tower of Gazel. Sorry if I'm not reading that right. But that's our final game in this particular showcase, and it is going for $170 after tax. So, just to wrap it up here, there's actually a whole other showcase. I should note that I think this is a very special time for Surugaya here. This was the Surugaya in Hakata in Fukuoka. It's right next to the train station. If you're in Kyushu, you should be visiting Fukuoka anyways. They've got a lot of great shops here. They've got Mandarake, and then they've got this new Surugaya. It actually used to be in Tenjin, but then it moved and it opened this day. And what I've noticed with Surugaya is they open real strong because they bring in all of these games from across the country and then they sell it. I'll go into a whole deal about Surugaya's business model later in a separate video, but I wouldn't take this as usual. But the day that I went, it was very, very special. We saw a lot of games, and these might be good prices. I noticed when I went to the other games in this shop, they did have what I felt were lower prices than usual, and maybe they were doing that just to get interest for that particular store. Maybe the prices will go back up to what they consider normal to later. But still, again, great showcase. It was real fun going through it. We're going to go, I guess, in 2 weeks' time, according to my posting schedule. We'll be going into the showcase that is right next to it. So there's even more games to go through in this particular shop. I think I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to get ready for the next video. But I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, saying thanks for watching. See you next time, and mahalo.